everybody. Welcome to the men's cookout. I'm so excited that we have Mike Johns here. We were trying to schedule something, and we scheduled this months in advance because Mike is a very busy guy, but he's always available to all of you anytime you have any questions or want to meet with him. He's great. We're so lucky to have Mike. Welcome, Mike.
Nice to be here. Nice to be here.
Yeah, we're supposed to clap.
You don't have to.
So I was asked, actually by Charlie, what my working hours are. So for Charlie, it's Wednesdays from 12 to 12:30. For everyone else, it's all week long, 40 hours. I know I'm going to get roasted while I'm out here because he's already been at it during lunch. So I'd like to take some questions and try and get you some answers on anything that's hot on your list of questions or agenda, and otherwise I have some things I'd like to announce. So anything that's on your mind as far as veteran benefits, as far as the town hall, that sort of thing? Anything? Okay. One thing we do have coming up on August 5th at the Board of Selectmen's meeting, the board is going to be recognizing the town's Purple Heart recipients. And when this project first came up several months ago, I was aware of 6 Purple Heart recipients. I know them personally, and so when I was asked how many Purple Heart recipients do we have, I said, well, I know of 6, but I also know that we have some deceased. I would guess maybe 30 as a rough number. So what's happening is that the commander from the Massachusetts Military Order of the Purple Heart is coming out to Foxborough at that Board of Selectmen meeting, and they're going to present us a certificate for us to hang publicly declaring us a Purple Heart community. And then the Purple Heart recipients in the community are going to be given a pin that they can, like a lapel pin that they can wear, and then I'm going to be preparing, along with Bob Siteman, our Veteran Services Advisory Committee Chairman, we're going to be preparing certificates to give to these folks. In the case of a deceased Purple Heart recipient, then I would like to hand those certificates to a next of kin, a family member, or a neighbor friend if a relative isn't available. So one of the things that's been interesting is that some of the Purple Heart recipients that I've approached have been resistant to coming up. They don't want the recognition. And that doesn't surprise me. These are humble folks. They went and they served and they came back and they got back into the community and they're doing their thing. What I've explained to them is that I think it's the community in general, our young folks, as well as all generations, that often could use a reminder and maybe some education on what the cost of our freedom is, what the price of democracy is, that we have folks that serve. We have many that serve at many levels. We have some out at the front who are, face to face with the enemy, but we also have many, many others who are in support roles to make the front lines work, and they're all important. Purple Heart Remembrance Day, or the National Purple Heart Day, is August 7th. We're recognizing folks 2 days earlier at the Board of Selectmen meeting. And I feel that it's very important to recognize this group of veterans because they've given above and beyond the call of duty. Their service and sacrifice has been to the point that we need to individually, I think, call them out. And even though they're hesitant and reluctant to come and be recognized, I hope they do come. I'm not a Purple Heart recipient myself, but I really feel strongly that this is something that we want to recognize folks. So to this date, we have identified 48 Foxborough Purple Heart recipients.
Wow.
12 of them are living, and I have verified 26 of them by looking at their service records and seeing that they were awarded the Purple Heart and it's in their record. The other ones I'm sure that I will get verified, but I'm still working on that. Trying to get some of those old records is difficult. So that's where we are with that. Any questions on Purple Heart Day in Foxborough?
Like when you say 48 Foxborough residents, does that include people that grew up in Foxborough that relocated elsewhere, or current residents or people that died here?
Good question, Paul. That includes both. So folks that grew up here, entered the service from here, and live here, or have moved elsewhere, we want to recognize those folks. Folks that grew up somewhere else, served their country, were a recipient of the Purple Heart, and now reside in Foxborough, we want to recognize those folks as well. I don't think we want to discriminate at all. I think we want to recognize all of these folks. Any other questions? So, on August 6th, the Memorial Hall will be open, as it always is, from 7 to 9, and I invite all of you to come to Memorial Hall. I will be there, and we'll have Lawrence Foster's Purple Heart, his Purple Heart certificate, and his mother's Gold Star Medal all on display for you to come and see. And then the next day, the 7th, is National Purple Heart Day, and we'll have the flags around the Common, along Mechanic Street, and along Central Street for that. So that's what's going on between August 5th and 7th. There's something else that I would like to announce. How many veterans are here today? Served their country in any capacity. Very good. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you all for your service. How many in the Army? Very good. Navy? Marine Corps? Air Force? Coast Guard? Okay, we have almost every branch covered, and we've got 2 branches covered over here with the Army and the Navy. And I myself am a Navy veteran. I've got 2 sons who are, one's an Army veteran and one's on active duty Army right now. One thing that may be of interest to you is we have a new capability at Town Hall, and it's a system that is offered through the VA, and it's called My Healthy Vet. And that's the website, My Healthy Vet. So if you, how many use a computer? Excellent. You don't have to have a computer to use My Healthy Vet, nor do you have to already have the computer skills to use it. I have a computer in my office now that is dedicated solely for VA use. So I have, this computer was donated by the Boston VA and has all the software on it to go in and communicate with your primary care doctor, with your specialist. You can also renew prescriptions. So for folks that are having a tough time traveling into Boston or Brockton or Providence, what have you, you can order your prescriptions here in town. Initially, you've got to get it started at your hospital, your VA hospital, and then it can be renewed in town. So the purpose of the computer at Town Hall is to get people started. If you don't have a My Healthy Vet account, I can get you on, get you a password. You can set up your own your username and password, and I can show you how to use the system, how it might make your life a little bit easier, save you a little bit of traveling. And then I've checked here with the Council on Aging. The computers here are going to be available for you to use in an ongoing basis to do prescriptions, to communicate with your doctor, that sort of thing. Because we all know doctors are very busy people. They're not going to give you their email or their personal phone number. So at 2 in the morning when you wake up and you've got a concern, okay, if it's not a 911 sort of concern, but it's something you want to get to your doctor so you can get an answer the next day, you can get on that computer, if you have the computer at home, send it to your doctor. You can do that here at the Council on Aging. Anytime that the Senior Center is open, send a message directly to any of your doctors that you're using at the VA and get an answer back. If the doctor is not on duty at that time, whoever's covering, the nurse, the physician's assistant, or another doctor will get back to you with an answer. I have found it to be a very useful piece of software, a good tool for veterans to stay in touch with their medical care. Has anyone used My Healthy Vet? Excellent. So we've got 3 people in the room that have used it. Any thoughts or comments on the system or using it?
I find it very convenient.
Save you some travel, does it?
Well, no, I mean, I only use prescriptions on it. I mean, I don't have trouble going to West Roxbury. It's an easy ride.
Okay, very good.
Mike, I want to make a comment relative to the computer room here, which I've used really often over the years. Occasionally, that room is not available because they need it for something else. If that happens, you know, the vet could probably go ask the social worker, hey, you know, I need a computer. And just, instead of just talking with the social worker here, might be able to, you know, access what they need from their, you know, their personal computer. You know, not the one but most of the time, that room is wide open. It's probably once a month, maybe it's not. That's been my observation.
That's correct. And this can be used from any computer with an internet connection. So, yeah, the ones here at the Council on Aging and the Senior Center are almost always available. If they're not, maybe ask Pam, the social worker, if she's not busy with someone, to get onto that one. And the other thing is, make a call from the Senior Center to my office, which is 543-1204. And if I don't have somebody in my office already, if my VA computer isn't tied up, then come on up and you can use that one. I'm trying to reserve that computer mainly to train people on to use it and to set people up with their username and password. Because I know if I open up that one computer for everyone in town to use to do prescriptions, talk to the doctors, that it's not going to work. There's going to be a log jam there because it's the same room that I'm also doing private meetings and interviews. So mine will primarily be used for initial setup and training.
In terms of the training, Bob and I were talking a little earlier, actually I was listening, and he was thinking that with the computer lab here, which I think has 6 or 8 units, that maybe some, you know, veteran training of PCs could be conducted. And if you're doing the training in your office, that takes a lot of your time, and if there's a bigger need, you could probably arrange with Vicky to have somebody with good computer skills run a class for veterans here, and instead of say to 6 individual people, you might, you know, have a class.
I can do that.
And that would be fantastic. And I have all the materials in my office to do the training, and it's simple. This is simple. If you can get on the internet, go on there, and it walks you right through. Click on the buttons. If you don't know how to use the internet or the computer, we can start from there. This is intended to be something to make people's life a little simpler, save some traveling, order your prescriptions, have them mailed to your house, that sort of thing. Because we recognize that travel is often difficult, and getting to the hospitals, you know, Brockton, West Roxbury, Jamaica Plain, Bedford, Providence, can be a real challenge for a lot of people, especially some. Any other questions on My Healthy Vet?
Hey, Mike, just so you're aware also, almost all of the major hospitals in Boston have a very similar program to that. Almost every one of them, Israel Deaconess, you know, Harvard, all the Harvard medical hospitals all have programs very similar to that. So even if you're not with a VA doctor, most of them can get through that.
So that's what Bob's saying, is that other hospitals have a similar setup for using that particular hospital, and that's something, if you want that convenience, you ought to check with your primary care desk or that particular hospital. I'm not familiar with those. If there are no other questions on My Healthy Vet, I'd like to introduce someone to you. Any other questions on My Healthy Vet? Ready? Would you like to come up? I hope I get her name right.
A little impromptu, I wasn't expecting to be introduced. Hello, everybody.
This is Areti
See you
Bratsis.
again.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, you sure did.
Say it again, please.
Areti Bratsis.
Can you spell it?
A-R-E-T-I.
And your last name?
Bratsis, B-R-A-T-S-I-S.
Paul and I are only used to Irish, so it's just slow.
So Areti and I have been talking for a while, and this morning we had a little bit of email communication, and she has a great interest in remembering the history of the service that people have given to our country. So I don't know if you want to say a few words on the concept of your
Sure,
project.
let me give you a little behind the scenes of who I am. I'm a professional photographer. That's my role in this. And I met Mike a little while ago, and I had approached him with a project I wanted to do, a personal project, because I'm engaged in what I'm calling photography with purpose. It's a personal project of mine. It's a passion that I have, to be able to pay a living tribute to veterans. I believe the time to hear from people and honor people is when they're alive. I think it's all wonderful in general, but as a photographer and an artist, I want to be able to, number one, thank you for your service, and to actually ask you one more thing, and that is for you to teach me something, and for you to teach others something from your experience. So what I'd like to do is to be able to find an audience to photograph and to videotape, so it's kind of a hybrid project. It's been a big project, so that we can hear some things directly from you. So I'm looking for people, I'm recruiting people that are willing to be teachers, to teach us something about your experience and what that means for me today as a young person, or what that means for the younger people. I'd really love to learn from people. I'd like to learn anything you can teach us from your experiences, from your perspective. You have a unique perspective nobody else has. We can read about it in history books. I'd rather talk to you and have you teach me something. So yes, I'm asking a lot. I'm asking for you to do one last thing. And anyone who's willing to be that teacher, to be on display, to share with us, you're more than welcome. So we'll find a way to recruit people, but that's my goal. That's who I am, and that's what I'm hoping to do.
So when Reddy gets this project going, I'll get the word out to the community, and I'll let you know how to contact her. But I'm glad you came. And,
Thank you. Thank you for having
got to meet folks here. What she's doing is fantastic. She's also working with Jacqueline and Angela, and they're going to make this thing happen, and it's neat. This is not the only project, but it's one more important project that's going on to remember your service. And importantly, like I already said, educate our young people and remind our community in general about how they came into freedoms and democracy. The other projects going on, of course, Neil has been doing the Living History Project over at Foxborough Cable TV, and Vicki Lowe a number of years ago started something with the school doing interviews. And I think you see the interest level of people on what have you done. I think it's fantastic, so thanks for coming out today.
Yeah, already I do. How is this going to be made available to, for the public to see?
To see?
Yeah.
As a photo presentation, more like a gallery, images portrayed with quotes from people. So there'll be an interview process because, again, it's important to not only see the person, but to hear what they have to say. And then a small AV presentation of personal accounts. They can talk about a unique perspective from that time frame, but also what that means today, what they hope people to understand from it, what kind of lessons, with all of that put together. So it'll be in some sort of gallery, it could be at the library. We're looking for the places right now. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a great day.
So I have a couple of other things that I could talk about, if you'd like. I can take questions. Thoughts? John?
She's the first lady that invited me to tell war stories.
There you go. So when I send that out to the community, you might want to respond and say, I'd like to tell my war stories. Also, as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of us who have served, and there's a small number who have served on the very front line. And that doesn't make any of our service less important than the other. The important thing is that someone, man or woman, gets up, raises their right hand, takes an oath, and goes and supports and defends our country. I think that's what people need to remember, whether it's peacetime, wartime, whether it's stateside or deployed overseas. I think everyone has a story to tell, and it doesn't need to be with valor. It doesn't need to be bragging. I think that we owe it to folks to let them know what's happened during our time. So, how many users of the VA hospital system do we have? Are there any others that think they might be eligible to use the VA and would like to? Okay, if you have any interest in that, please do contact me. I can do the application, and we can get something turned around in about a month. Get you an ID card and using the VA services. There are some service requirements and some other things that we need to go through, but I'm happy to do that. How about, nobody likes to talk about death, right? I don't like talking about death. But, you know, what are the two certainties?
Taxes and debt.
and death.
Taxes and death. So we hear about taxes all the time.
You only worry about one of them, right,
I keep good on my money.
You know that you are all eligible for VA death benefits, okay? So if you served active duty time in the military, you are eligible to be buried, you and your spouse are eligible to be buried together at the National Cemetery, okay? The one here in Massachusetts is Bourne National Cemetery, okay? Someone who's buried here in Foxborough, Rock Hill, or St. Mary's, or in another surrounding community, there are some benefits. They're more limited. A bronze plaque, a flag, and a marker, you know, put out new at Memorial Day, and that's something we take very seriously. And I would encourage, if you know of somebody who's buried in one of the local cemeteries and they don't have one of the plaques commemorating their service, please have their family contact me. I would love to get that done. That's the way to get the flags on the grave every Memorial Day. Because when the scouts from Troop 7 and Troop 32 and the veterans from VFW Post 2626 and American Legion Post 93, when they go out the Friday before Memorial Day and put flags, okay, it's tough. It's a monumental task to put that flag out, but when they see that veteran's plaque from the VA, there's no doubt that's a veteran who served, that flag goes there. I'd love to you know, be able to make sure that everybody's service is remembered forever like that. Any questions for me? Otherwise, I'll wrap it up. Charlie?
You talk about VA records, veterans records. I'm a famous victim of the big fire in Kansas City. It's always given as an excuse.
Yes.
And in my separation papers, we came out as a replacement, and I have no service, nothing outstanding, just a period of time, but it just says nothing, meaning, you know, and every time I see a general sit at the table, sometimes I wonder why he bothers to put the jacket on, because we can't see the jacket for all of the citations and decorations and where I've been and where I haven't been. And I don't know how they construct one of those records from what specific information. Myself, I served stateside for 16 months and been on a boat for 7 months. Not on a boat, but went to Japan. And that was as far as I got, thank God, because I had a bunkmate who went over to Korea after being with me for a couple of months, and he didn't come back alive. So it's one of those things, you know, you thank God, you know. So I'm just wondering what kind of record they would have put together under those circumstances.
Sure. Let me see if I can answer that question for you, Charlie. And first, you know, I'm sorry for your loss, your bunkmate. That's really hard when you know, it's like losing a family member. When you lose somebody that you're serving alongside, that's something that never leaves you. So I'm sorry for your loss. In constructing those records, let me first tell you what happened. There was a fire. There was a big fire that happened in a record storage facility on one floor of one end of one building. There were multiple buildings that stored these records. But what happened was, from this fire, not all the records were lost. But as you can imagine, as they put the fire out, the water going onto it came down and affected all the rest of the floors. So some people's records are not good. Some of it's kind of blotted out. Some of it is entirely lost. From the ones that are entirely lost, what they've done is they've gone back to the service branches and asked them, what do you have for records on this individual? Back to personnel, back to the human resources departments, and trying to piece that puzzle back together. From the ones that have been damaged, what they've done is they've used chemical solvents to go and try to preserve as much as they can and then make photocopies and then scan that. The way to get whatever they have on record is to come to my office and you and I can sit down and do an application, SF or special form 180, and we send that down to St. Louis and have them do an archive search for everything they have on you, whether it's medical records you're looking for, or personnel records, or training records, or just a DD-214, your discharge paper. So that's kind of how that works.
Mention the DD-214 form. By the one that I personally got, I lost it, and I had it replaced. I'm talking back in the 1950s. I mean, what they sent me was a photocopy, because they had nothing was put on it, and it might be the exact copy of what would have been in the file, but I have no clue to that, because, you know, there's no way of verifying what they sent me as a replacement, whether it was just something that was put together.
So one thing that I can verify is I can verify what Massachusetts Archives has on record. Any veteran who came back and returned to Massachusetts after their service, that was their home record, they returned back here, I have access to get into Massachusetts Archives. And that is verified actual records of service. Some of them are the old discharge papers before they did DD-214s, the newer DD-214s. Some of them are the cards when someone is killed in action, that sort of thing. So I can look that up. That is verifiable records. And if you need a verified record, something like that, I can get that and you can stamp it that it has been verified.
I've gotten everything I ever applied for through the
Okay.
veterans, so I want to know it hasn't impeded any of my benefits in any way.
Right.
It just was a matter of, I look at this thing every so often, and I say to myself, when I was coming up today, I said, but oh, that's a personal visit, that's at 11:15 on Friday, appointment time.
You can come by at 4:30 on Friday, I'll be glad to
I
help you.
understand the town hall's not open on Friday.
Oh. Bruce.
I don't know if this is the proper time, but on some of those black lanterns up in the common, there are plaques.
Yes.
They're virtually unreadable. People, they painted over them. It just doesn't seem right. It's bad enough when you try to read the small letters on the memorial, but on those, they're absolutely unreadable. They're just painted over and ignored them. People paid money to have those things put there to remember somebody. I know I think they were all killed in action.
So let me see if I can address that. Those placards you're talking about at the bottom of the lanterns, they're about this big, and those were put up when there wasn't something else to recognize those who were killed in action. And you're right, there were community contributions to put those up there. So one, those names have since been put on memorials that are more permanent in nature, granite, in other words. And so those are the everlasting memorialization for those people. But two, as far as those being painted over or whatever, I'll approach Parks Department and see if that's something that's possible. But do know that those people haven't been forgotten. All of those names have been taken and put on permanent memorials.
Where?
On the stones. The actual like the World War II, Vietnam, Korea memorials, they're on those memorials. And if there's a name that has been missed, if you're aware of any, please.
I
yeah.
was just, I was just thinking that was put up there for a reason, and then forgotten and ignored and painted over. And I didn't think that was quite right.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Your point is well taken, but they're not forgotten. they were actually transferred onto a more permanent.
So I know of two that were killed in the Vietnam, and they are on the Vietnam Memorial now.
That's
Is
correct.
that correct?
That's correct. So our newest memorial, which is for, from Korea on, all future conflicts, so that includes Korea, Vietnam, Panama, Grenada, the first Gulf
Yeah,
War.
that's on the back of the, yeah.
Right. So anyone who was killed in Vietnam, if that's who you're referring to, they've been transferred to that wall with a star next to their name denoting that they were killed in action. Yeah. So they've not been forgotten.
All right.
And that's a good point to bring up to the community, so thank you. Any other questions for me? Paul, one last question. Because we're getting the axe over here from Charlie.
Purple Heart stamps probably being pushed in all the post offices. I was in a post office in Western Mass the other day, and I didn't buy any, but I'm going to this post office today for something, and I usually buy them every year. So it's probably they're pushing them.
Yes.
And they're forever stamps, I'm pretty
They
sure.
are forever stamps, and we're also encouraging the community to use those throughout July and August, as well as the rest of the year, but specifically July and August. We just recently checked with the postmaster. They have over 2,000 of those stamps on hand right now, and as the stocks start dwindling down, they will replace them and make sure that we have them for the community. I had several sheets of those stamps donated for veteran use, and we're going to be sending out the invitations to Purple Heart recipients and next of kin to join us on August 5th. So we're going to be sending those stamps on the invitations. Thanks for bringing that up.
The question I had, Mike, in terms of collaboration with other communities, we were in that joint venture for a while, which dissolved. You were very good in that, and so was our town. But when you were away for training or vacation and stuff like that, what are we doing to help somebody that, might need to face-to-face or a phone call while you're off?
A good question. So there is no gap or lapse in coverage. And the reason I say that is 2 of the communities that were in our former Crossroads district are now collaborators with Foxborough. So the town of Norton and the town of Mansfield, as well as now the town of Walpole, we are providing mutual aid to the other towns. So 2 weeks ago, I was providing mutual aid to the VSO in Walpole, who was on vacation with his family. The week before that, I was providing mutual aid to the town of Sharon when that VSO was on vacation. And then earlier in the year, when I took a couple of days to town of Mansfield, Heath, who used to work here, he provided mutual aid here. So there's no money transfer per se, but when a VSO in any of those 4 communities, Foxborough, Walpole, Mansfield, and Norton, are sick, on vacation, away for a couple of days, what have you, that information is put on my whiteboard on the door, is put on my phone message, as well as my email, who to contact. And then if for any reason someone can't reach any of them, and they need to pick up an application or anything like that, the town clerk also has some of my most important applications right in Foxborough Town Hall. So there's always coverage provided. As well as on the town website, the Veteran Services page, there's a lot of information where people can get answers to questions right away and know here are the resources to go to get things done. Okay, thank you for your attention and for your attendance. I really appreciate it, and it's been a pleasure being here. Thank you.
There's 6 minutes left on the tape. Paul posted a very significant video.
Let me just make sure I'm square on this. This is the guy who was giving me this
That was-
a couple of minutes ago. Oh, you were giving him the cut. Okay, in that case, let me ask you a question. I thought I was getting the hook.
The Sentinel
Charlie.
was taken down from the top of Memorial Hall
Yes.
and has gone off for a year's vacation while he soaks up some rum and so forth and gets his innards restored. That has been put up on the town website. Is that correct, Paul?
That's correct.
I'm not,
It's also on the cable access website.
yeah, I mean, again, you people with computers, it's very interesting to watch the procedure of taking down the Sentinel, if anybody's interested in seeing it.
Yeah, I seen Paul's email.
And of course, we have a commercial at the end that says we'd appreciate donations. The Historical Society, I have a small part involved with that organization. And so we're looking for donations to pay for that. So I just thought, and since that's a civil law, and I served with that man that they took down. Thank you, Mike, for putting that commercial.
Okay, you bet, and so it makes sense. I had forgotten, Charlie, that you served in the Civil War, so it makes sense. If that Sentinel is off to rest for a while for restoration, I think, let's put it to a
Charlie
vote.
up there.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second to put Charlie on top of Morel Hall? We have a second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, unanimously, Charlie, you know where you're standing tonight.
Put them up there the next lightning strike. I thought we'd go back to the rotation system. Walpole, Norton, Sharon, right?
You know, I checked with the other communities. You're the only other remaining Civil War veteran, so good luck tonight. We'll bring coffee.
Boy, if my wife sees this show, I'm in deep trouble. Thanks a
I have
lot.
a feeling
We
we all
won't have a silent, we won't have a silent sentinel anymore.
You got that right.
Bullhorn and a megaphone up there.
Guys getting hooked. What's the future? Sure.
Good to see you.
What do you think, Jeff?
The silent Zeppelin.
Good to see you.
Silent it would not be.
Mike,
Thanks for entertaining us. Always a pleasure.
thank you for your work, too.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
And thank you for your guys' leadership.
Thank you, Mike.
Charlie, you're great.
Yeah, I don't
Somebody will
talk
be
to you
there.
about my business, so you would have-